All right, I think this is going. All right. So, a few times in the last few weeks, people have asked me what I think of eugenics. I don't know why that's become a big topic lately, but I gave a quick answer, which was basically, I think the general idea of eugenics, which is basically humans using our understanding of genetics and all that and evolution to have some positive effect on our evolutionary future. The general idea of it is great, but I think it's a problem when governments get involved and start deciding who can do what, and then it becomes a huge problem. And earlier today, I was out digging, and this popped into my head, and I was like, I think I have a more detailed answer to this. And I was thinking about it, and I think there are two main problems with eugenics, not with the general idea, but just with the way it's been dealt with. Now, obviously, the Nazis and Hitler just totally did a number on the entire idea of eugenics, but let's just put that aside. And then, yeah, there's been a bunch of problems, but I think. Okay, first I should explain basically what eugenics is. I think I just said it actually. Like eugenics is basically the idea that people use their understanding of genetics and evolution and heredity to, have some manual control over our own evolution, right? And it's a great idea, just generally speaking. But it's a problem when the government gets involved, for a couple reasons. Probably the biggest reason is the same reason that it's often a problem when governments get involved, which is authority. So with any kind of social situation where you're dealing with people, you can take a good idea and then just take authority and just crush the idea and just take away everyone's freedom, and then it's just completely ruined. And then in eugenics, you have people being murdered, people being castrated, people being told you have to have children or else, and just like people lose all kinds of freedom because there's this insane level of authority, and they're like, oh, we gotta do it this way, and that's it, and you can't have any say in everything. Everyone loses their freedom, and it's not the eugenics isn't the problem there. The problem is the authority. Now, the second major problem with this, which is, I think, it's just the way that people think about the concept of eugenics. And it has a lot to do with authority, because authority and what I'm about to talk about don't mix very well. So eugenics is about evolution, right? Like having some kind of like manual control over our evolution, which is a great idea because there isn't a lot of natural selection going on in our lives anymore. Just to some degree, like if you were born just completely sterile, you're not going to have kids, so you'll be taken out of the gene pool, fine. But even if you're just a little bit sterile, you can go to the doctor and get some treatments, you can make babies. Like there's all kinds of things where because of our technology, we've just removed a lot of natural selection from our lives. So, it's kind of a good thing, I think, if people are a little bit conscious of that and, put a bit of effort into, and it doesn't even have to be a lot, just a little bit of effort, just give a little pressure, say, I should keep in mind the genetic future of my children and, try to get the statistics leaning in the direction that I'm going to produce good offspring who will produce good offspring and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't have to do a huge, like, it's not a huge thing. You don't have to go crazy or anything. But the way people often approach it is the way they approach everything in today's disposable, only thinking about the next 3 months at the most kind of world, where it's like, we need results right now. But something like evolution, you don't get results right now. You get results in 1,000 years, right? So putting some huge push and like going and castrating all these people and murdering all these people and doing just going crazy. First, it's just gonna be a blip in the history. And it's not going to be sustainable. And even if it was sustainable, you'd end up murdering the whole planet within a year, going crazy like that, right? With something like evolution, you only need a little bit of pressure in a certain direction, And then over time, you end up moving in that direction a lot. So this is like a 1,000-year thing. Like this would be something we're doing for hundreds, thousands of years in the future for those people. This isn't for us. It wouldn't be for us. It would be for people we're never going to know. So you can't come at it with all this aggressive, like crazy authority and you have to do this and that, because it just doesn't work and it's not sustainable. It's going to be useless. It's just going to piss everyone off, take everyone's freedom, and then it has nothing to do with eugenics at that point. It just has to do with tyranny and authority and all this ridiculous stuff. To make something like eugenics actually be useful, you only need to put in a tiny amount of pressure that's consistent over a long period of time. And it cannot come with authority. Because if it comes with authority, people are going to push back. And then whatever message there is gets wrecked. Plus, if it comes from authority, who's deciding what propaganda we're pumping into people and forcing them to do or whatever, right? Like, there aren't enough people making the decision. The way it would work would be to say, okay, people of the world, we should just generally keep in mind that we are in control of our own evolutionary future. We're pretty much in control of everything we do now. We've got this technology that just lets us do basically anything. We have so much control over our lives that we have control over a lot of genetic things that are going to happen in the future. Plus, we have enough understanding to make some sensible decisions, like, it maybe if I have some genetic defects, maybe I think about having fewer children. But maybe if I feel like I got really good genetics, maybe I should feel like I'm kind of responsible for passing that on. Maybe I'll have a little bit more kids than I would otherwise have. You just need a little bit of encouragement like that. And who decides what's good or bad? Every individual. You decide for yourself. You don't turn it into this big competition. It's something that's we're not going to see the results of this. This is something for the future, right? So you just generally make it like it can even be just a discussion point of like, yeah, I was thinking about not having quite as many kids because I've got this genetic defect and I didn't want to pass it on too much. Or Bob, you've got really amazing genetics. You should really have more kids, But whatever, do whatever you want. You like it doesn't have to be some huge pressure thing. Just a little tiny bit of pressure, a little bit of social pressure that happens naturally over a long period of time. And I say it happens naturally because if you go into a bar or a party or whatever and you're some dude and you're like looking at the girls, your brain is already automatically like ranking them. Ooh, that lady she looks fit, and ooh, this lady, ooh, not quite as good as that one. And you're not supposed to be all judgmental and stuff, but everyone's doing it all the time. You just do that naturally. And if you also keep in mind, this knowledge that we have about how genetics and heredity works, it just gets mixed into the way you think about things and people and the way you judge people, the person you get together with, all that stuff. So I don't know who kept asking about eugenics, if it was one person or different people. That's my basic take on it. It's the kind of thing where you cannot come at it with authority, any kind of authority. You cannot come at it with the government or anyone telling people how they have to do it. You got to leave it mostly just up to people in general and just have it socially acceptable to just like make choices based on some level of genetic excellence or whatever you perceive that to be. And some people are going to get it wrong, some people are going to get it right, but as long as the majority of people get it right, we go in a positive direction. Blah, 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 blah. All right, another thing I want to talk about is, all right, this one is not very serious. But the other day, I was watching a thing on Nikola Tesla, because my kids were asking about electricity and blah, 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 and how it started. And I was like, oh, you got to learn about this guy, Nikola Tesla. Like, he's basically the reason. Really? All right. Let's presume it's just gonna be all right. So Nikola Tesla is basically the reason people have electricity. Like, there's this big debate about who is better, Nikola Tesla, or what was that idiot's name? Edison? Yeah, I guess you could tell which one I like. Like, Nikola Tesla is the guy who's basically responsible for people just having electricity in general. Like, before Nikola Tesla, everyone had like oil lamps and candles. After Nikola Tesla, people had electricity in their homes. Like, that dude was like, I want to do this good thing for people, for society. He wasn't all wrapped up in trying to make money and stuff. He didn't want to become a bajillionaire. Of course, Edison got pissed off at him because Edison just wanted to make money. He didn't care about his stuff. He didn't care about inventions. He just wanted to make money, so he blew up Tesla's lab. Anyway, Nikola Tesla, hugely amazing dude, super like a genius, really, really awesome guy, right? Came up with all kinds of cool inventions. Like, he basically, maybe not single-handedly, but he had a huge part in creating our modern world. And okay, that part was all serious. Now we get to the not so serious part. All right, conspiracy theory, here we go. So how do you even say this? I'm just gonna just take this with a huge grain of salt. So it's been surmised that possibly Nikola Tesla was in contact with aliens, and they were the ones putting these ideas into his head, because he even said some stuff about, communicating with aliens and stuff. So, and he would get these ideas pop into his head, ideas for an invention, and he would get the whole thing completely made, bloop, pops right into his head, and he knew exactly how to make it. Like, it just came from nowhere. So what if those aliens actually were pumping these ideas into Nikola Tesla's head, and then he comes out with these inventions that create the modern world? That could explain why we have all this technology today that we don't know what to do with. Like, we don't know how to handle it because it came so suddenly, it's all at once. We didn't have a chance to adapt. We didn't have a chance to evolve, to figure out how to deal with all this new technology. So people started using it to do dumb things, and people sit in front of the TV and just veg out for like 12 hours straight. Maybe if those aliens didn't pump those ideas into his head, and maybe some other people's, and it didn't fast forward our technological advancement, maybe it would have happened slowly enough that people could have adapted and been able to handle the modern world better. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, all right. One more thing I wanted to talk about. This one is more of a question. And the question is, at what point do you leave? Well, I got to get into some details here so you know what the hell I'm talking about. So, modern society is kind of a mess. You got this situation where like 30-year-olds are dying of heart attacks, which started in the last 3 years-ish, and I'm not going to say the word of why a lot of people think that's happening. And there's a lot of just losses of freedom and privacy issues, and there's just modern society is becoming kind of a mess, and it's getting worse and worse. We got inflation going crazy. We got cops beating the crap out of people for no reason, and hiding guns on them, except now they're getting busted because they all have body cams and stuff. But anyway, there are a lot of problems, right? Like, if you live in a city in the United States or Canada or a lot of places in Europe or Australia and these places, society is pretty crazy. It's getting all woke, and we'll leave it at that. So my question is, for everyone who's still in that, in the heart of it, living in a major city, at what point do you leave? If I were to answer that question, I would be like, well, I did that 20 years ago, 20 something years ago. I was like, this place is crazy. I have to live out in the woods. And then when I lived out in the woods, I was like, I'm still too close to the craziness. I got to go live on an island out in the ocean. And now I'm like, okay, there's a buffer zone between me and the craziness, and I feel much better now, But for the people who are still in the heart of it, at what point do you say, okay, now it is a priority. I need to get out of here and like live in the country or somehow do something to put a buffer zone between me and the craziness. Like now it is at this point, it becomes top priority and I need to actually focus my energy on it and go. Like I gotta do it and gotta make it happen. Like what needs to happen for that to become the case? Or for people who have done that, like people who are watching this from their little cabin in the woods or they're under their deep sea submarine or whatever you got, like what was there some kind of straw that broke the camel's back, or like what was the situation? All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. Here's a bunch of comments. Hans, what's going on, man? What's going on, man? How is everyone? You know what? I have one more thing to say about the eugenics thing. So this is just I started thinking about actual practical real life examples of where I think eugenics is not being used, and I think it could have been really well used. And I was thinking about all the women I've known in my life, like really known, like girlfriends or close friends, like women that I've spent enough time with to say, like I had a relationship with them enough to like feel like I know them pretty well, right? And I was like, all right, let me think about, and this is a terrible thing to say. I'm not supposed to say this. Let me kind of judge them and say, who do I think is like the genetically like top tier women that I've known in my life? And two women I've known in my life kind of like immediately came to mind, like beautiful, smart, athletic, competent. I've never seen either of them just like fly off the handle, like in some kind of rage of emotion, like very chill people, very, very, very kind, like very, like really, really good people, you know? Neither of them had children. Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, all right, what was I, where were we here? Mr. Landfill, what's going on? As our one mod would say, wait, how is everyone? As our one mod would say, yes, Mr. Landfill, how is everyone? B. Hans, what's up? Jaimie, what's up? I don't know, I'm just sitting here. It's a kind of hot tonight. I'm trying not to sweat, but it's hot. Let's see. Hi, Jaimie. I do not recommend a Tesla for your island hopping. Yeah, what do those things cost? Like $70,000 or something? I don't know. Hans says, please build a boat with a Tesla Model S motor. Oh man, I don't need to go that fast. I have been thinking about building a faster boat, but you know, I don't really need one. Like all my boats go fast enough to get to where I need to go. Well, first, like all the trips I do just around here, I don't have to go fast. There's nowhere that far that I go. But the longest trip I do is to go to town. There's like a couple different towns I might go to, or like some visiting some people. And all of those trips, I can go there, spend some time, and get back in the same day. So yeah, making any more boats is not a high priority. Danny says, the government couldn't organize a lineup to an outhouse. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, everyone knows this, right? But one of the major problems with, I guess there's two major problems with the government that I could think of. One was just what I was saying about authority. Like the government's, like once the government operates based on authority, it just turns into a mess. And because they operate based on authority, they have a monopoly on anything they're doing. No one else is allowed to do it. No one else is allowed to print the money, although in the United States, the government isn't even doing that, but that's a whole other can of worms we're not going to get into. But like, there's all kinds of stuff that the government is allowed to do that no one else is allowed to do. So they have no competition. They don't have to do a good job. They can't be fired if they screw it up. So you go into a government office. It's the most inefficient thing you could possibly imagine. You know, in the movie, what was it? Zootopia. Oh, it's hilarious. I don't know if anyone's seen Zootopia, but the main characters, this rabbit and this fox, they go to the DMV. And in the DMV, it's all sloths working behind the counter. And the rabbit's like, oh, it's all sloths. And the fox is like, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to go to my man here, Flash, 100-yard dash. He's the fastest guy in the place. And they go up to the counter. And Flash just moves like a sloth. Like, he goes to like type the rabbit's name, and it takes like 20 minutes or whatever he was typing. Anyway, they go in like the middle of the day. They walk out, it's nighttime. That's totally what the DMV is like. Or like, you know, I got a green card in the United States, and just going into those immigration offices, it was like, oh, I can't imagine a more inefficient system of just this room full of people just waiting with their little deli meat counter ticket, just sitting there like, and then it gets to the end of the day and they're like, yeah, we didn't get to most of you, so come back tomorrow. You'll be coming back all week. Sorry, man. Yeah, we can't be fired. Yeah, we didn't do a good job, but too bad. You imagine at the deli counter, you get your ticket. If it takes like 4 hours to get your sliced ham or whatever, you just go to another store. Anyway, you can't just go to another government. Well, you kind of can, but it's not so easy. The government couldn't organize a lineup to an outhouse. Yeah. Michael Jackson, says a Tesla 200-mile-per-hour kayak. Wow, yeah, that'd be... Can you imagine hitting a wave going 200 miles an hour? You'd just be flying. Efficiency is the architect of nature. Yeah, man. Nature, like, nature is efficient. And here's the thing, like, even with something like evolution, which seems at first glance like it's a really slow and inefficient thing. And this kind of goes back to a conversation we had last week, where we were talking about the difference between like possible different branches of humans. One that just worked with evolution. It was just like, I just want to be this natural branch of humanity, and one that was like cyborg, and one that was like completely computerized. I would choose the natural one, because natural evolution, when you take your time going through the process, you end up not making mistakes. Any mistakes get weeded out quickly, because the process goes slowly enough that mistakes get weeded out, and you end up with a really good end product. But when you try to like jump forward, like make a huge advancement, so you get your cyborg implants or whatever, there's a tendency for mistakes to go really far before they become noticeable. And at that point, it's like, oh wow, now we've got a huge mistake. So I've noticed in my life that often just doing things slow and steady really is the best way. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise is great. The hare is great for a short thing, but the hare is not what you want to do. You can't sprint forever, but you can go slow and steady and keep making progress for a long time. And this reminds me of a special technique I used to do when I was running. I used to run track and field and road races and all that kind of stuff. And one of my favorite techniques that I would use, I called the 1% method. And what I do is, say I'm going for a 10-mile run. For the first mile, I would just try to settle into a comfortable pace, like the most comfortable pace I could find. I'd be like, this is like maybe the fastest pace that feels totally comfortable, right? And by the end of the first mile, I'd be into this rhythm where I'm like, okay, this is a very comfortable pace. I feel like I could just do this forever, like I'm in a comfortable thing. And then for the next 9 miles, I would try to do 1% faster, or not even necessarily faster. I just try to put 1% more effort in. So it's like, if my comfortable pace was like a needle aiming straight up, I just try to nudge it just a tiny bit and just get slightly above the complete comfort zone. And I would even still be in the comfort zone, but it would just be nudging in toward discomfort. And what that did is it gave I would like nudge up, and it would give my comfort zone like enough time to catch up, and then that new pace would become comfortable. And so I would keep staying just above it, and my comfort zone would keep going up with it. And it would happen slowly, but I would never get that thing that happens when you try to make really fast progress, which is you make a bunch of progress quickly and then you plateau. And runners or athletes will always talk about this plateau. Like, oh, I was doing so great, I was making all this progress, and then I plateaued. And I found that if I increase everything really gradually, I don't hit a plateau. So someone else might in a month jump way out ahead of me, but like 4 months later, I'd pass them, and I would just keep going slowly. And they'd be like, what's going on? I was ahead of you. And I'd just keep going gradually, you know? So I found that in a lot of things, just that steady pressure in the right direction, that steady increase, really has the long-term effects you want. Oh, let's see, where are we going here? Oh, PGD. John, what are you talking about? PGD, pre-genomic diagnosis. Oh, genetic testing of embryos to avoid passing along genetic conditions, but the parents get to choose which viable embryo to implant. I mean, I don't even think that's necessary. Like I was saying, like the evolution does not require a huge push. Evolution only requires a little nudge, a consistent nudge over a long period of time. If you have a little bit of advantage to one idea over 1,000 years, you're going to end up skewing way in that direction. So I don't even think all this fancy technology stuff and, you know, scanning embryos and all this stuff, I don't even think that's needed. I'm not saying I'm necessarily against that, but I don't think that's important. Partly because if people are getting that into the details and making that many choices, I think it's really easy to make a bad choice then. I think you end up with the best choice in the end when you just kind of have, you just have that general idea of this is the direction we want to go. And then you consistently push in that direction, just a little bit, you know. Good information is the best way to promote positive change. I will second that. Good information is the best way to promote positive change. Yes, totally. And this is one of the problems in our society today, is that there's so much propaganda pushing bad information. So yeah. Mr. Landfill. Yeah, I got kicked off by the internet and I'm back, and it seems like it's all right now. You have aliens on your bingo card? No way. Glad to see you. Watching your vids like 12 years ago. Best regards from Germany. Hello, KBM. John says, I live in Seattle. Okay. Now this is where I think this is where we're talking about the question I had. The question I asked is, at what point do you leave a failing society? At what point do you leave a sinking ship? You know. John says, I live in Seattle. I have a feature house with cool art. What's a feature house? I don't know what that means. To my neighbors, I'm the crazy, called the Dragon House. Oh, that's the best when you're the crazy. In any case, I have no interest in leaving. Totally, man. I totally get you. Sean says, woke means having compassion and empathy for other people's choices. That's not the woke I'm talking about. Maybe you are confusing it with what you call feminism or social justice, which is about equality, not power. Wait, feminism or social justice? Feminism is definitely not about equality. Sean, I'm going to have to move on from you because you're saying a lot of weird things that don't make any sense. I'm getting the impression that you're super woke. And one thing I've learned is that when someone is this woke thing that we're talking about in modern society, you cannot discuss anything with them because they just get angry and call you racist and sexist, and that it's like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. And it just devolves into the dumbest conversation possible. So yeah, woke. The woke I'm talking about is what I was just saying. People who decide what other people need to think and decide what's right and wrong, and there's no negotiation or discussion. Whatever they think is right and whatever else thinks is wrong, unless they think the exact same thing they do. That's the woke I'm talking about, and that is a disaster. A random user, very says, moved to the country a while back, saw things getting worse. Eventually, I'll be in the southeast of Alaska on a small island. Oh, that sounds amazing. I loved my time in Alaska. I had a really good time in Alaska. So do you remember if there was like a straw that broke the camel's back, or like some kind of thing where you got to a point, some impetus where you were just like, okay, that's it. I'm calling it. I got to get out of here. Like, obviously it was probably a gradual thing, but were there any things that really stuck out? For me, when I first moved off grid, it was just like, my university experience really showed me a lot of things about the world. And I was like, whoa, I can't be part of that. But then when I left the United States completely and came to Central America, it was right after I had kids, because I was like, I can't raise kids in this insane place where all the kids around us are like, thumbing their screen and just like absorbing this propaganda 24 hours a day. And, people are getting arrested for homeschooling their kids and just like insane stuff. I was like, if I'm having kids, I got to get out of here. So that was really the straw that broke the camel's back for me, was having kids. And I was like, I got to go. Lieutenant Stan's legs. Hello, what's going on, man? John says a cheap new Tesla in the US can be had for $35,000 with incentives. It's the high-end models that are the $70,000 ones. Oh, it doesn't even matter. $35,000. You know what I could do with $35,000? Like the boat I could make for $35,000. Oh, that would be amazing. Hello from Sweden, Digital Aura. I hope things are going well in Sweden. Sir Charles Facehuggersworth. Sir Charles Facehuggersworth. Does that have anything to do with Aliens, the movie, the Facehuggers? Anyway, says too big to fail is vetoing out accountability. Oh, totally, yeah. The whole too big to fail thing is insane. Like, yeah, it's like once you're too big to fail, what, you can just screw up all you want and it doesn't matter? No, that doesn't. No, there should never be a too big to fail. Totally. Here's an example of why there should be no too big to fail. So the idea of too big to fail is that if there's some company that's huge and has like this just massive influence on the country, to the point where if they failed, so many things would change. It would just upend everything. Everything would be turned upside down. Oh my gosh, right? So a government official would be like, oh, they're too big to fail because they're my best buddies. No, but because they're, it would disrupt too many things. Well, let's look at I've been watching North and South with my kids recently, which is a TV series about the American Civil War between the North and the South. And I just saw the episode where Lincoln just abolished slavery. He's just like, all right, there's all these people who are slaves, all these people who rely on their slaves. We're just stopping it. And they just stopped it. And that actually happened. That was part of history. It just got try to imagine something that changed the country more than that. Just so many people's lives just got completely turned upside down, for better or worse, whatever. I'm just saying, and yes, I think it was getting rid of slavery was a good thing. But it just totally changed so many things, and people got through it, So this whole idea that if some giant company screws up and goes under, it's just going to destroy the whole country. Come on. No, just give me a break. Half the country was relying on slaves at one point, and overnight it got erased. And somehow people managed to get through that. And so I think they can handle your stupid company, like your dumb car company or whatever that's been totally irresponsible, or your bank that's been like lending people money that they can't pay it back. If those went under, that would be a good thing. There should be no bailouts for these too big to fail things. It's ridiculous. Anyway, John says 200-mile-per-hour boats. Those are unlimited hydroplanes, and when they hit a wave wrong, those wipeouts are unbelievable. And yes, some are on YouTube. Yeah, I even want to see that. Like a boat going 200 miles an hour hitting a wave. Oh my God, it would be like hitting a brick wall, or yeah. I mean, not as a brick wall, but like a solid bam. Oh, whatever. Digital Aura says there is a book named Rationality, Knowledge, and Truth. I found this very interesting. This topic is covered in this book. A book named Revelation, Rationality, Knowledge, and Truth. I see. I'm probably not going to read it. I don't read a lot. You know, when I was talking about eugenics in general, there is a movie that illustrates kind of something related to it, which is the movie Idiocracy. The first 10 minutes of the movie Idiocracy. Everyone who's seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've never seen it, go watch the first 10 minutes of the movie Idiocracy. When it first came out, it was hilarious. Like, it was just like what's the word? It was just like this huge exaggeration of ridiculous comedic stuff. And then like 25, 30 years later, it's not so ridiculous anymore, which is the hilarious and scary part. But yeah, they did a really good job of explaining how evolution can go wrong there. Sire Pan-Fried, what's going on? I literally just finished putting 3 layers of fiberglass over my mold. Ooh, is this the kayak mold? Is this the one? I can't remember. I think that was maybe you. Now I'm standing here staring at it all over, and I'm worried there will be tons of little holes. I guess I'll see. Any thoughts? Well, if you put 3 layers on, there are probably not going to be any holes going right through. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Plus, I mean, you're done. Don't touch it. Let it harden and see how it comes out. On my kayaks, there are lots of little pits in the surface, like little holes. And I just didn't worry about it. Like on one of them, I took some resin and smeared over the surface and then sanded again to get rid of all the little tiny holes. But it really doesn't make a big difference in the performance. So I just don't worry about it. And none of the holes go right through, like they don't leak or anything. It's just on the surface. So if you get it out of the mold, you see lots of little holes, don't get worried. They probably don't go through. If you do 3 layers of fiberglass, chances are you've covered any holes. Nothing's going right through. Mr. Landfill, thank you. I don't know what message you erased there, but I'm sure you're doing a good job. Diddler, what's going on, man? Tony says, regards from Springfield, Massachusetts. I used to drive through Springfield, Massachusetts quite regularly. What do you think? It must have been, I think it was going between Vermont and New York, because I lived in Vermont and I had friends in Manhattan that I go visit. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Anyway, Wizard of the North, how's it going, Mr. Wizard? Rusty Shackelford says, Jaimie, for $35,000, I bet you could make a 60-foot solar-powered boat. I could definitely make a 60-foot solar-powered boat for $35,000. Yeah, I could make some nice stuff for $35,000. I would definitely not spend that on a car. I don't want to get myself in trouble, but the other day I was posting like a video, and while it's uploading, I sometimes start perusing silly stuff like on Reddit, and I saw this post about this guy who transitioned from male to female, and he said it cost over $120,000. And I was like, holy crap, you know what I could do for $120,000? I mean, I didn't say that because I was like, I don't want to say it's better than what you did or anything, but so much. All right. Sean says, I think that's who you are talking about. Most of us just want to live our lives and not control others. Well, if this is talking about the woke thing. So I would not consider you one of those woke people then. The woke people I'm talking about are like the Karens or the, like I a little while ago, I posted something online just on Facebook, which I rarely do. I don't go on there very often. And I immediately got reminded of why I don't go on there very often. It was something about, oh yeah, it was like about the female boxing at the Olympics. I just posted something like, you know, I think that I think the male category is the open category. And the female category is a special separate category that's only for 100% females. So if you're 100% female genetically, and they can test for all this crap now, then you fight in the female category. But if you're somewhere between, you just go in the open category, which is the male category, which makes sense to me. The only way to make it fair with two categories. Of course, really the only way to make it like technically perfectly fair would be to have one category for everyone. But since basically half of the species is female, you know, and they can't compete with men in a lot of sports, you know, make two categories, makes sense. But then anyone who doesn't fit in the female category goes in the male category. And oh my God, the wokesters went crazy. Made up all kinds of stuff, like put all these words in my mouth and stuff. And I don't know, it was like, they just go nuts. And like they get really insulting and angry, which is the worst part. Although as soon as they do that, you know, there's no point in responding to the conversation. John says, the golden spike in Promontory, Utah was another moment, like getting rid of slavery. Well, I don't know what the golden spike is. That was super important for the country. The golden spike in Promontory, Utah. I'm gonna have to look that up, I guess. See, I grew up in Canada, so I don't know a lot of the United States history. Henny Bink says, you already had a break, get back to work. Well, when I get off this, I'm going to eat dinner, and yeah, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Eat dinner, though. Oh, no. I just hit a button. Okay. Oh, you got to be careful pushing things here. Oh, no, I messed up the comments. Where was I? Okay, up here. You scroll. There. Oh, yeah, I already took a break. Right. John says, it no longer took 6 months to go from coast to coast. It took 2 weeks. It made American an economic powerhouse. The golden spike. Oh, is this the railroad? There must have been a railroad. So it used to take 6 months to go from coast to coast, and they made it down to 2 weeks with I'm presuming that's a railroad, which has spikes. Did they put a gold one in somewhere? They didn't do that. They wouldn't do that. Someone would steal it. All right. Yeah, that would totally change things too. Mark says, just drove a Model Y properly for the first time. Wow, I get it. That thing is amazing. Also, the opposite of your zombie chopper, which I am also completely inspired by. Yeah, those things are supposed to be like sports cars, like, right? Yeah, I totally get that. To me, I'd rather have the function over the fun. Like I want to reliably get to where I'm going without wasting energy. I have other things to do for fun, but I totally get the idea of like driving a sports car. That can be fun. Both great for different reasons. Yeah. Blurhood 93 says, I always thought woke was a pejorative term coming from people making fun of New Agers and the global awakening. Well, from what I understood, originally, back in the day, woke was like meant you were waking up, like you were actually noticing all the propaganda around us and all the marketing and all that stuff. But very quickly it got switched. It got flipped on its head, and it became the people who are 100% for the propaganda and all that stuff and pushing it. So yeah, that happens a lot. Because, man, the propaganda is powerful. The marketing is strong these days. And most people don't fight it at all. Wizard of the North says, honestly, the whole EV thing seems like it's just a fad. From what I've read, they're not better for the environment than combustion engine vehicles. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the numbers on it, but this is one of the reasons I make my vehicles just use less power. Like I have a 1 horsepower motor on my boat. It gets me to where I need to go and I can get home. And if I were to make a boat that had like a 200 horsepower motor, I feel like it wouldn't really make that much difference if it was electric or gas. It's just using tons of energy to get me to where I want to go. But I don't know what the numbers are on if electric is actually better than gas or whatever. But so I usually just try to like use less energy on things in general. Many places in the States still use coal power plants, which defeats the purpose. Then you have the battery waste. They just go to the landfills. I did hear something a little while ago about some solid state batteries, but I don't know. I haven't kept up with it. Does anyone know anything about the solid state batteries? Are there solid state batteries out there now that just last like forever? That'd be pretty sweet. I would like some of those. Mark says, love that Tesla have turned the sleepy car industry on its head. Very good, very good. Sir Charles Facehuggersworth says, if my profile pic is any indicator, LOL, if it's too small on your screen, it's a Geiger Ridley Scott facehugger impregnating Hello Kitty's tummy. Yes, sir. Yeah, I totally can't see it. It's tiny on my screen, but I get what you're saying. Yes. Sir Charles Facehuggersworth. Totally makes sense now. Mark says, even on the dirtiest grid, electric motors are so efficient that it still makes sense. Also, 97% recoverability of battery waste to make new batteries. Show me some recycled diesel. Yeah, one huge benefit of electric motors is their high efficiency, because gas motors are something like 25, 30% efficient, but like an electric motor is like over 90% efficient. Someone might want to check my numbers there, but it's something like that. Electric motors are way more efficient. Mr. Yanarobi says, you can roll gel coat over polyester. Yes. This is talking about holes in your fiberglass. You can get rid of them with gel coat. Totally, yeah. Sire Panfried says, yes, I am the one doing the kayak, although mine is more of a rowboat for the river near me. Thanks for the inspiration. It's a super fun project to do after watching you do it for years. Ha ha. Dude, can I see a picture of your boat? Like if you're not ready to show it, but like my email address is down here. I would love to see it. That would be super cool. Let's see. Rusty Shackleford is laughing. Wizard of the North said, what subreddits do you browse? Honestly, I don't browse much. What comes up on my thing? I don't spend much time on that. I really don't spend much time on the internet. So whenever I talk about like something I saw, it's usually just like I had a few minutes while something was saving or uploading, and I was like, let me just do something stupid for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. But yeah, I don't get into it enough to even know what subreddits I've been looking at. Boobs, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding, maybe. Hail Dynamics, what's going on, man? Oh, someone's getting deleted here. Thank you, Mr. Landfill, for deleting whatever that message was. I'm sure you did a good job. John says, yes, it was the railroad. The very last spike was gold. It was a photo op. 9, and it's in a museum now. Oh yeah, I'm sure they had to take that out and put it in a museum. Someone totally would have stolen that. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, that must have been a huge deal getting the first. Can you imagine that? Like having the country where it's like, if you're on the West Coast or the East Coast and you have family or someone you want to visit or anything you want to do on the other side, it's like a 6-month journey on a horse and a carriage or walking or whatever. And then boom, 2 weeks. It's just all of a sudden. That's crazy. Same thing with like powered boats, like going from crossing the ocean in 3 months to crossing the ocean in like, I don't know, a couple weeks, few weeks, whatever. Huge change. And they're at a loss when you, oh wait, okay, I think this is about the woke people. And they're at a loss when you ask them why they have segregated leagues for men and women in the first place. Oh yeah, this is talking about the gender thing. Oh, I'm sorry, the sex thing. Oh, you can't say gender because that's just a social construct. Oh my God, that's the dumbest argument ever. You know what else is a social construct? Murderers. Like you go up to a cat and say, "You cat, you killed something. You're a murderer." Even if the cat could understand you, it'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about? That's just some crap humans made up." Yeah, it's just some crap humans made up. But then you're going to say, oh, but to be a murderer, you have to murder people first. You don't actually have to murder someone to be a murderer. There's plenty of people in jail for murder who didn't actually murder anyone. But yes, generally speaking, to become a murderer, to become the social construct of a murderer, this word people made up, to become a murderer, you have to have done some murdering. You have to kill some people to become a murderer. And gender is also based on something. It's not like, it's not like just coincidence that gender and sex have a bunch of the same categories, male, male, female, female. No, it's because they're related, you know? Oh, yeah. And sure, you can just make up a whole bunch of other genders that don't have anything to do with reality, but that doesn't take away from the fact that that genders originally were the different sexes, like there's basically 3 genders, male, female, and then like somewhere in between, something, the chromosomes didn't, whatever, and there's all kinds of different things in that third category of other. And I guess those people didn't want to get stuck with just being other, so fine. But then the whole transitioning thing, I don't know, it gets crazy. Honestly, I don't know how people have the time to get into discussions about that so much. Oh, someone's gonna get mad at me. It's okay. I apologize. Your gender is great. The golden spike is the ceremonial 17.8 karat gold final spike driven by Leland Stanford to join the rails of the first transcontinental railroad across the United States. Well, that's pretty sweet. Am I required to register my electric boats? Honestly, I don't know. Yep. John says, Wizard of the North, redwood material is now the largest lithium-ion battery recycler. Redwood material. It's funny, it sounds like they would do stuff with wood, but with 97% of the mass captured for reuse. So no, the batteries do not go to landfills. That's pretty sweet. I have some lithium batteries. I'd like to send them. Like old ones that I bought used. I used them for a while, but yeah, now they're just dead weight kind of sitting in my house. I figure out how to send them to those guys. Mark says, most efficient internal combustion engine put 30% of its energy into doing work, like turning the wheels. Yeah, so 30% efficiency is a really efficient gas motor. Okay, Mr. Landfill says, a solid-state battery is an electrical battery that uses a solid electrolyte for ionic conduction between the electrodes instead of the liquid polymer electrodes found in the conventional batteries. Yes, but is anyone doing them now? Is it a thing, or is it just a talking thing? Like, is a thing? Like I can just can think? I mean, like a thing, or is it just like a thing? That's what I want to know. Yo. Wizard of the North says, I'm not sure why my comment was deleted. Oh no, is YouTube auto deleting comments? I hate the auto censor. Oh well. So just so everyone knows, I'm not deleting any comments, and sometimes comments get deleted by some kind of YouTube auto delete thing, and I try to read everything. Mr. Landfill my moderator spares me from, terrible comments. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, there's also comments that just get deleted because I don't know, there's a weird keyword or who I don't know how it works. But yeah, sometimes that just happens. Wait, where was I? I'm not sure why my comment was deleted. I understand it's a sensitive topic, but Jaimie brought it up in the first place. Yeah, so Wizard of the North. If you're talking about I've definitely brought up some touchy subjects in this live. So if you comment about some of the stuff, it may get deleted, which I am not for. I am not for censorship. I appreciate my moderator censoring cruelty. But anything that's not cruelty, I don't have a problem with it. So yeah, I'm definitely not erasing those. It's just something that automatically happens. Mr. Landfill says none of your comments got deleted or just corrected. I have only had to delete 2 messages tonight. Oh, my mistake. Sorry, Mr. Landfill. Okay, so yeah, sometimes I don't know, maybe there was a comment that didn't get deleted that you thought was, but YouTube does auto censor some comments from what I understand. Anyway, all right, it looks like I'm at the end of comments here. Speaking of deleted comments, there's no more. Yep, no more. So I don't know if anyone has any last minute comments or questions. Say them now or forever hold your peace until next week. I am still kind of curious about some of the other people, like people who kind of like got out of society. Like what was go watch Galaxy Quest. I did enjoy that movie, but people who kind of got out of society, like what were the things that really made you do it? And people who are thinking about it, like what would have to happen to get you to make it a priority? Alan says, "Hi, Jaimie. I've been out at the pub playing pool and drinking. Just got here. How long you been live? About an hour. I've been on for about an hour, 57 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, I was actually just about to get off, unless someone has any more questions here." Tony says, "Off topic, how's the track?" The track is excellent. It's right above my head. Oh, you can see it. Above the water? Yeah, you can't really see it that well, but yeah, right up there. That's the sloped part of the track. It's more than halfway in. I'm definitely gonna run out of wood before I get it finished though. So I'm gonna have to take my chainsaw into the jungle and see if I can find a log. I don't need a lot of wood to finish it. Yeah, I'm looking around my house. I do have some other wood I could use, but it's a different type of wood. And I don't know if mixing the types of wood is going to be a problem. If they're going to shrink differently or something, or I don't know. Yeah, I'm just going to use the same kind of wood because I can get more. There's definitely more in the jungle. I don't need that much. Let's see, where were we? Off topic as a track. The problem is Wizard of the North says the problem is all the censorship in the mainstream media. Oh my God, censorship has gotten out of control. Like, free speech is gone. Like that's been gone for years, which is really, really unfortunate because free speech is one of the things that keeps a society functioning and keeps bad ideas from growing out of control and lets good ideas grow. Because so like wokesters, for example, have this idea that you shouldn't ever be able to talk about anything that's controversial or questionable. However, if you can't talk about those things, you can't work out what's wrong with them, Like if you're not ever allowed to talk, like people should definitely be encouraged to talk about any controversial topics where they're not really sure what they should be thinking. Like you should be free to talk about that stuff so that you can kind of come to a decision, because some of those things they're important to figure out. And if you can't talk about it, you can't figure out what you should be doing. So there are a lot of things that you're just not allowed to say, get censored online and stuff. So people just avoid those topics and then just end up ignorant because you can't know. You're not allowed to know. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to work it out with other people, saying ideas, and so this whole censorship thing, the loss of free speech, is really, really disastrous, far more than most people realize, I think. Okay, the problem is all the censorship in the mainstream media. If you say something slightly controversial, you get labeled as far right, racist, and get canceled. We need to be able to hear both sides. Exactly, yes. Oh, and the worst thing is it's so juvenile. When you say something that someone doesn't like, and that group of wokesters just says, you're racist, you're sexist, you're this, and that, and blah, blah. And there's no substance to what they're saying. It's just like, I'm throwing poo at you, from my head. It just means nothing. It just means, shut up, you're not allowed to talk, Mr. Landfill says, I see solid state batteries for sale, but they seem very high priced. I see. I might have to do some investigation in these solid state batteries, but yeah, I'm not going to buy any when they're high priced, of course. Bajillions of dollars. Wendy says, I'm late. How to make a temporary AM radio tower over water. Wait, is that a question? It is a question mark. How to make a temporary AM radio tower over water? Well, you make it float, I guess. Put it on a floaty thing. I don't know. What are you working on? What are you doing? What's going on, Wendy? Oh yeah, Mark says, I have a half-built fan. Oh, you're making the fan. The fan. Oh wait, let me grab one. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I think this is what he's talking about. Hold on, let me figure out. So Mark, I presume you're talking about one of these. Oh, isn't that great? Oh, let me aim it at me. Oh, that's some good stuff. Oh, that's some nice breeze. Yeah, I've been really enjoying having these fans around, because often, like if I'm editing videos or something at the end of the day, let me aim that at me. And I've been just out getting hot and sweaty, and I'm still hot, and I'm just like, I just want to edit this dumb video or whatever I'm doing. But I just like it to be a little cooler. I'll just wind up one of those and put it beside me, and it keeps me cool. And it makes just a little breeze makes a huge difference. Anyway, I presume that's the fan you're talking about, because I uploaded all the files to Thingiverse. My Thingiverse link is down here. I have a bunch of links down here for stuff. If you want to donate anything, or my email or Thingiverse. And I made a video of putting one together. So thanks for that. Was trying to get it together for my wife to show it to 800 school kids in rural Australia. Didn't quite make it. Oh no, what happened? Okay, Mark, if you want any help with it, just send me an email. Maybe I can help you figure out what the problem was, or I don't know. How far did you get? Send me a picture of what you got so far. I know there's a few tricky parts to put together, mostly just dealing with the spring, getting the spring into place, and getting that main part with the two big gears put together. Once that's put together, the rest is a piece of cake. You just, but yeah, if you broke a piece or something, or if like your 3D printer layers don't adhere really well, you can break off one of the nubs. But if you put a steel rod in it, anyway, yeah, send me, if you want any help, I will totally help you with it. Elliot says, when was the last time you drove a car or road vehicle? Oh man. Not counting my the little car I made for my kids, which I drive every once in a while. I don't know. My license expired 8 years ago or something. Yeah, I have no plans to drive a car. If I take something to town to drive, it's my scooter, which is right now it's buried under a bunch of stuff and under the stairs. You can't really see it. But it's just this, it's like a bicycle with big fat tires with no pedals. You just push on it. That's the closest I've gotten to driving a vehicle in town. I mean, it is a vehicle. Now I have been in a golf cart recently, and I was in a car sometime. No, that was just a golf cart. I don't know. But yeah, me personally driving, that hasn't happened in a while, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Braden Oliver says, "Hey Jaimie, been watching you forever. Oh, I'm immortal. Never caught a live before. What's the eugenics talk?" Oh, well, that was way at the beginning. I was just talking about, just general evolution and stuff, and how governments should stay out of it. But people in general on their own should. It's good to think about the genetic future of your children and future generations, because there's not a lot of natural pressure on our genetic development at this point. Let's see. I'll watch the full video tomorrow, and then I always miss the lives. Sorry, man. Captain Skellebones, what's going on, man? Says internet free speech died in 2015 when Google bought YouTube. Yes, that was. I do remember when that happened, because before Google bought YouTube, the revenue was pretty good. And after Google bought YouTube, my views continued to go up, but my revenue continued to go down. Not that I ever made a lot of money on YouTube or anything, but yeah, that was definitely noticeable. And then, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to say one thing about Google. At one point, Google's motto was "Don't be evil." And then they got rid of that. It's kind of hard to... You can't have a motto of "Don't be evil" and then just take it away and then presume people aren't going to be like, "Oh, so be evil then." Yeah. You lucky you're not in the UK like I am. It's bad here. Ooh, I lived in the UK for 4 months. I was supposed to be there for 6 months, but at 4 months, this was years ago too. I'm sure it's gotten worse. But at 4 months, I was like, I can't take this place anymore. We got to get out of here. Oh yeah, the UK was like the most aggressively stifling place I've ever been. Like before that, I felt like in the US and Canada, you couldn't like sneeze without asking permission from the government. But the UK, it was just a whole other level. It was crazy how much control the UK government has over people's lives. Mr. Yanarobi says, thought police, yes. It stops the learning from our past mistakes also, yes. What is that, worn up? Not warm up, worn up. Rusty Shackelford says, I'd rather be labeled a far-right extremist as opposed to be part of the woke crowd and ignorant. Yeah, I mean, that happens to me all the time too. Although I get called far right or far left, just depending on who I'm talking about. If I'm talking about one of those woke nutsters, they think I'm like some right-wing nutcase. But if I talk to some, religious goon, they think I'm some liberal loony. And I mean, that's a lot of people are in that, where they're just, people are just, I just want to make sense. It's crazy. Karen Dirt says, fan is amazing. I am really happy with that fan. I should wind it up for real. It goes for almost 15 minutes. Rusty Shackelford says, LiFePO4 batteries, when oversized and partially cycled, can last 20 years. New tests out on old LiFePO means they will last longer than first intended. No manufacturers ran test 15 to 20 years until now. Yeah, I've been pretty happy with the lithium iron phosphate batteries, the LiFePO4s. Sire Panfried says, thanks for the gel coat tip. And yes, Jaimie, I will take pictures now and email you. Beautiful. Oh, I'd love to see it. That's cool, man. There's my email. Mr. Landfill just posted it. Jaimie always wins, Rusty Shackelford says. I do not always win. I've had some significant losses in the last few years. I took some significant damage, but I always get back up. I would say that. Jaimie always gets back up and eventually wins. I hope. Yeah, I feel like I've won most of the things in life. There's still a couple other things still working on. Do you think that fan could be modified to turn a small alternator? Is the spring strong enough? It'd be cool if it could power a small reading desk lamp. I have actually been thinking about making a wind-up flashlight. Next? Maybe next? Maybe not. I don't know, but it would be super useful to have a wind-up flashlight around here. As you can see, it's getting dark, and I left my light over there. So, wait, did I? I thought I brought it over. I guess I left it over there. I'm not going to be on that much longer, right? I don't know. But yeah, I think you could power you could definitely power some kind of LED. So the way this works is there's you can't even see it anymore. Hold on, let me get a light. This will be a lithium iron phosphate powered light. Not a wind-up one. Oh, where is it? Oh no. Where did I put my light? All right, somewhere. Oh, I know where I put it. It's right up there. Yeah, I did bring it over. I totally thought I brought it over here. I just didn't have it up here. All right, how's that? That's not too bad. So this has a gear ratio. This is black, so you can't really see it very well. But there's a gear here and another gear here, and there's a tooth difference. So there's a 1 tooth difference, and then there's a small gear up here that gets driven by these, and there's a 1 tooth difference between the front and the back. But you can make a 2 tooth difference, or 3 or 4. You can change the gear ratio. So you can basically change the gear ratio to be able to power whatever you want to do. The thing is, the lower the gear ratio, the fewer revolutions you're going to get. So I basically set it up to have to basically barely be able to power this fan. So it would have the most rotations possible of the spring to get it to work. So yeah, if I wanted to power, let me turn this on a little more. That feels nice. If I wanted to power a light and it needs, twice as much force or twice as much power as this propeller needs, I just change the gear ratio. It would go half as long. Roughly. There are some other factors in the runtime, but oh yeah, that's some good stuff. Let's see. Patriot Iron Dome is down. LMAO. Patriot Iron Dome is down. Is that town has an old school 10,000 watt? Okay. Town has an old school 10,000 watt AM radio station with towers next to it. If we lost the towers, what electric would be involved in a simple rebuild? Prepper stuff. Oh, man. It's not that, just building the antenna is not that difficult. You could look that up pretty easily. Yeah, the actual radio is the hard part to make. Just a printer error. Oh, Mark says just a printer error. He's the guy who was making one of these fans. Thought it was done, but was half printed. Clogged nozzle. Ah, that's the worst. Great print until it wasn't. Got the spring in easily. Oh, good. Held the coil with pliers slotted right in without exploding. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, so you just got to print the last or whatever piece. Beautiful. I'd love to see when you get one together. Recycled PLA is great, but does cause more clogs than virgin plastic. Ah, yes. I run a print farm for a university in Sydney, so recycled filament is good due to the volume of printing we do. Cool, man. Yeah, I totally want to see your fan when you get it going. I haven't seen one that someone else built yet. Oh, let me aim this a little different. Oh, it's so nice. And someone was commenting that I should just shut up and make a stupid electric fan. The problem is, if this was electric, if the battery ran out, I'd have to go charge it or swap it or whatever, and I have to get a new battery when it dies or whatever. The nice thing about a wind-up thing is it's always, I can take it anywhere. I don't have to plug it in. I don't have to worry about a battery dying or whatever. If it stops, I just crank it a few times. As long as my hands still work, it works again. It's great. Wind up flashlight would be beyond cool. I think that would be pretty sweet too. It wouldn't be as cool as a fan. Oh no. But yeah, it would be pretty sweet. They make hand crank radios and flashlights. Maybe they could be modified. That's true. Although all I'd really need is, well, yeah, I could take the generator thing out of one of those. I don't know. I'm gonna make one, but I've definitely been thinking about it. The problem with hand crank flashlights that once the battery stops taking a charge, you have to constantly crank it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Small internal battery, crank that spring a few times, get lights on for a while. No, if it's a wind up one with a spring, you don't need the internal battery. So you can just get rid of the battery completely, which is nice. Solar electric is pretty sweet, but a house-sized clockwork generator would be good, hilarious to see. That would be, oh man, imagine the spring on that sucker. Yeah. That would be amazing though. Wouldn't that be cool to run a table saw or something on a giant spring and a bunch of cogs that are just like, whoa. It would look like some old Dracula's castle in Castlevania or whatever. Most of you have no idea what I'm talking about. With a spring powered design, it would last for ages, and anything that does break could be replaced at home. That's the really cool thing about something that's spring powered. Like, if the spring would eventually break. And if the spring breaks, you can see it, you take the spring out, as long as you can get another spring, you can put it in. And it doesn't even have to be the matching spring. You know, you could just find any spring that's like close enough to the right size to make it work. I suggest learning how to make a basic crystal radio. I actually made one when I was a little kid. They're not difficult to make, yeah. Crank weights to the top of the house like a grandfather clock, then the weights turn a generator. I've definitely been thinking about, actually when I made this wind-up fan, I was debating, like I definitely wanted a fan in the house, and I was debating between a wind-up one that I could take with me and put wherever, or like a weighted fan where it would have a weight that I pull all the way up, like grandfather clock style, like just what you're saying. And I decided to go with the wind-up one, partly because I thought I had a good idea of how to do the gearing and stuff, which works really well. And partly because the wind-up one is portable and I can put it anywhere. So that's kind of nice. But I probably will at some point want to put like a ceiling fan, like in my bedroom, maybe one in every bedroom. And, you know, then I can have the cable going to the weights and stuff. And it's a little more elaborate, not so portable, but it would be in a spot where it would be useful. And because it's such a high ceiling here, it could run for hours, you know. And can use waterways and sewers as conduits, antennas. Oh, nice. Wait. Nice to catch you live. Hi from Wales. Hello in Wales. I hope the whales are doing well. I know it's a different kind of whales. Wizard of the North says maybe include a big flywheel to help out the weights. You don't need a flywheel because the flywheel is just going to store energy and give it back to you. It won't actually give you more energy. So it's kind of a wasted thing because the weights would have to put energy into the flywheel to get energy back. And anytime you do that, you're going to be losing some to friction and stuff. I had a wind-up radio light battery bank when I lived in Haiti. Yeah, I had one. I've never had one that really lasted though. I've had ones in the past and you know, they last a year and then something breaks in them or something gets worn out. I've never had one that's like a really good one that lasts. Although I have definitely thought about like manufacturing a wind-up light radio thing that just lasts. I don't know, is anyone making that? Like ones that really last? I don't mean kind of, like I mean one that's going to last like the rest of your life. That kind of thing. That's what I'd be interested in. Maybe replace battery with supercapacitor. Yes. Or these solid state batteries that, you know, last forever. Supposedly. Could you use a torsion spring for a home-sized clockwork generator, a big garage door spring? Yes, you could. Definitely. Jaimie built better than most 30-year-olds. Wait. Jaimie built better than most 30-year-olds, proves his way of life is healthy for the... Oh, you're saying I'm built better. Oh, the muscles. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, this lifestyle, like living off grid and like, working the land and building stuff. Oh, it's a great way to live. It's really, really good physically and mentally, like for your health. I do morning. Anyway, I do morning exercises every morning, but most of my exercise is just like digging, carrying logs, building things, sawing stuff, just doing things, and I also have like kind of a fun house. So there's like a rope I climb up to the second floor a lot of the time and back down. There's lots of climbing things. And there's a running trail around the island. So yeah, the whole place just encourages activity, And I don't eat sugar and stuff like that. I did eat a little bit today. I was at someone's house and they had some kind of sweet Cheerios, and I was like, well, I'll have some of those. But generally speaking, I don't eat like processed sugar. I eat fruits if they're around, because that just has the sugar in it naturally. I consider that to be fine. Anyway, cryptocurrency. That would be amazing. Winding up the mechanical beast would require an animal like an ox. Yeah, so if you had like a giant spring powered, like a spring generator thing to power a house, you wouldn't necessarily need something big to power it. Like you could power it with a small windmill. It would just have to be geared down a lot, but just it would take a long time to put a lot of power in it. Yeah, that'd be a pretty crazy thing to do. Pretty crazy cool thing to do. One thing I've thought about a lot is having a pond that fills with rainwater, because it does rain a lot here, relatively speaking. And I could set up a pretty big pond and empty it through a tube that runs through a generator. And it would take a long time to empty. You get a lot of energy out of it. Let's see. Weight fan, yeah, an ox or one Jaimie. When you work more and heat yourself up when you use a wind-up fan, whereas with weights, you exert a little force once and chill. No, I'm putting the same amount of energy into it. If I'm lifting the weights or if I'm winding up the fan, it's about the same amount of energy. Like if I'm winding the thing once for 20 seconds or lifting a weight up for 20 seconds, it's like maybe I could lift the weight faster, but I'd have to use more effort, more energy. Like you're not going to get more energy out than you're putting in, So either way, you're going to have to put a certain amount of energy into the fan to get that much energy back. However, with this, if I wind it up for like, I don't know how long it takes to wind up, probably like 15, 20 seconds, maybe, like to wind it up all the way. And then it goes for 15 minutes. Like it definitely cools me off way more than it heats me up. Just my wrist going like that doesn't heat me up that much. Let's see, one Jaimie and a long lever. I once had a torch that had a magnet in a cylinder to induce a current for the LED. It was pretty funny. You had to wank it to make it work. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the jack-o'-lantern. I, in fact, have one jack-o'-lantern, the shaky light, the jack-o'-lantern, yes. I have one right over there. It's pretty funny to use. Glad I could catch a live again. I hope you're doing well, brother. Love you. I am doing well, Dallas. Thank you very much. Maybe at a wind turbine when you do big house wind-up fan. I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to do a wind turbine, I'm probably going to have it run charge the batteries. But I don't know. How about a wind-up phone charger? Too little to fail. Phone charger. I don't even have a phone. I haven't had a phone in years, and I like not having a phone. So yeah, I guess for me personally, that doesn't matter. A human can generate about 250 watts pedaling. That's some hard pedaling, from what I understand. 250 watts, but yeah, a human can do it. Use the tide to wind a massive floating weight on a ratchet every 12 hours. Oh, man, if I'm gonna have a fan powered by a little weight, I'm just gonna lift the weight. I'm not gonna build some enormous, elaborate thing to do it. I'm just gonna lift the damn weight. Like the amount of cooling I get out of this fan from turning it, I don't feel like the effort I need to put in is significant enough to warrant having an elaborate thing to replace me. So yeah. If I'm gonna build some elaborate energy projection thing, I'll have it charge the batteries. Okay, Current Crypto C says, I'm suggesting you'll get more energy from the weights, but I made weight lights and fans, and I made wind-ups. Wind-ups take longer to wind, and I ended up swearing more and was hotter at the end. Well, maybe if you weren't swearing so much, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think both work. I don't see why there's a problem with either one. The only thing I would do actually to make the wind-up fan easier to wind is, instead of having a thing that you wait, you see it, that you rotate like that, have it like a thing that comes out like that, and a lever, you just turn it all the way around, so you don't have to stop going around. Because to turn something like this, you have to turn and then you have to go back, and then you turn and go back. But if you had a, like a bicycle pedal thing, you just continually go the same way. Oh, let me turn that on for a second. But I'm very happy with the performance. It keeps me cool, even when I have to heat myself up to wind it with my massive exertion of my two little fingers. Mr. Panfried says, so I sent you some pictures of my boat on Facebook Messenger instead of email. That's totally fine, man. It was easier for me to do it on my phone. Yeah, totally cool. Cryptocurrency, totally cool, man. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I'd like to hear about your wind up and thingy fans. When did you do this? What was this? What was the story? Elliot says, I really dig the solar mill. Oh my God, I love the solar mill. And having the solar mill and the planer there, it's really nice. My cousin and I have been chainsaw milling on the property in upstate New York. Yeah, man, the solar mill is, it's awesome. Like, it's really nice to use something that isn't consuming anything. Obviously, it's consuming sunlight, but like that just keeps coming and coming. But like, it's not like I turn it on and like I know I'm using up oil and gasoline, and I'm gonna have to keep going to get more of that. It's really nice having it just solar powered. Let's see. I want to build. Elliot says, I want to build something permanent, like height adjusted parallel rails to ride rather than milling in place. Any suggestions? Okay, this is about a milling machine. I want to build something permanent, like height adjusted parallel rails to ride rather than milling in place. Any suggestions? Well, are you basically talking about like what I built? Like my rails don't go up, but the saw itself goes up and down and left and right and does everything. So I can put a log there, and then once the log is in place, it doesn't move. I can cut verticals and horizontals, and the saw goes everywhere and does everything, and I don't have to move it. Let me just read this again. I really dig the solar mill. My cousin and I have been chainsaw milling on the property. Yeah, I want to build something permanent, like height adjusted parallel rails to ride rather than milling in place. Any suggestions? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing a bit of information here. But I think you're saying you just want to build a permanent lumber mill, basically like I made. It's awesome. Just figure out a way to get the logs from where you cut them with the chainsaw to the mill, and other than that, I did make a whole bunch of videos of making that lumber mill, so you can look through that. And there are also a lot of lumber mills you can just buy, you know. Anyway, cryptocurrency says, but maybe our designs are very different in our heads. Mine, we just walked the weights up some stairs and let them go. Oh, walking, I would not walk my weights upstairs, because if I walk up a set of stairs, that's definitely going to generate a lot more heat in my body than just turning something. The way I would want to do a weighted fan is basically just like a grandfather clock. So you'd have like string, cable, chain, whatever. Let's just call it cable of some kind. Cable going up to a ratcheted pulley coming back down to a weight. So you pull the one end, the weight goes up, and you can freely pull it up. But then as it tries to come down, since that thing is ratcheted, it starts turning something. And if you have two of those weights, you can have continual pressure on the thing. So one weight gets down to the bottom, you pull it up. While that one goes up, the other one's still coming down. Although that's not even that important. That's important for like a grandfather clock when you need the consistent pressure. But for something like a fan, I mean, while you pull the weight back up, the fan can stop for a second. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I would just want to be at the bottom, move just the weight, not my whole body up the stairs. Let's see. Where are we? Wave plus ratchet equals mechanical force. Sweating, not swearing. Oh, but that too. Oh, you were sweating a lot more winding up your fan rather than carrying the weights. That sounds crazy to me. So you carried weights up the stairs versus winding up a fan, and the winding made you sweat, but the carrying the weights up the stairs didn't. Man, you must have had some serious winding. You must have had some crazy springs on that thing. 100, Mark Ryan says 150 pounds is a lot of useful energy to use to do work. Well, 150 pounds is not energy, it's a weight. You can use it to create energy, but yeah. Cryptocurrency said I had to do a lot of cranks to wind it enough. I gotta see these things. Right, we did that too, but found if we got our 3 gears right, we get like 30 minutes of lights and about 20 minutes of fan for very little work. But cranking was like 10 minutes of 10 minutes of cranking? Holy crap. What the hell were you cranking? Like what? Man, I want to see this thing. Like what spring took you 10 minutes of cranking to crank it up? 10 minutes of cranking versus walking upstairs with about 30 pounds of weight. Holy crap. Like, the amount of energy that you could produce in 10 minutes of cranking. Like, if I take 30 pounds here and walk it up the stairs, I could get 30 pounds up the stairs with like a minute of cranking pretty easily. What are you doing, man? That is crazy. That sounds pretty awesome, though. Man, I wish I was still there. It was this crank generator versus our weight and gears. What is this crank generator? Oh, was this like something you were cranking that was making electricity and charging some batteries? Because that's a different thing. You don't know. I don't know how efficient that was. So yeah, I felt like it was a lot of work too. Yeah. All right. I'm starting to get hungry here, thinking about all this cranking and walking up downstairs. So I think I'm going to get out of here and go eat some dinner, which is sitting right there. I made it right before I turned this on, so it should be cool and ready for me to eat. Cryptocurrency says it was horribly inefficient. Yeah, that sounds horribly inefficient. This fan I have here, I don't think it's horribly inefficient. I think it's pretty efficient. Gerbil wheel for winding. The monks at Mont Saint Michael had one for lifting things. Okay, Wendy says methods for winding your clock spring is transmutation of energy. Yeah. Getting that to be to your advantage seems vital. Have wind, use wind. Have sun, use sun. Have fat, use fat. I got fat. I got some fat on me. Wizard of the North says, thanks for the stream, Jaimie. Cryptocurrency, love the gerbil wheel idea. Yeah, I would love to build like a big gerbil wheel for running that powers some stuff. I've been thinking about making some kind of. All right. Now I'm getting disconnected again. I think that's be my. All right, we're done. Getting out of here. This thing disconnects today.